All right. Welcome to Embrace the Suck. This is going to be episode 54 with Jordan. He is going to, talk to us about his time on the duty, talk to us about the do's, the don'ts, the all the good stuff, the bad stuff, and everything in between. And welcome aboard. I appreciate you for coming on, Jordan. I really do. Thank you so much. I know that we've been talking about doing this for like 6 months, I
Yeah,
think. We've
for real.
rescheduled a whole bunch of times, so I appreciate you for hopping on this evening with us, and just take it away, man. Introduce yourself and let us know a little bit about you, man.
Hey, yeah, thanks for having me, Benny. Yeah, like you said, we've been trying to like hook up ever since you started your podcast career. Obviously, you're a very busy guy, and I'm in my routine, so I it's good that we're connecting and doing it now. So I'm out already. Uh, like yourself, I was an EAD recruiter on the duty. So I was in and out of deployments and mobilization orders while I was in the reserves. But I signed on as a reservist, so I stayed in the reserves. 16 years. I was in for 16 years, 8 years active. If you calculate all the time, it's like 8 years on active duty, and then
Yeah,
8 years in reserve time, and that's including my recruiting time. So I went on the duty in 2015 after I got out of my active duty orders. I wanted to stay on active duty. So yeah, what's next? I've done this and I've done that. I deployed. Like, okay, so what's next? And it came to my mind like I did like recruiting a while ago and I kind of enjoyed it. Maybe it's not that bad. So I was like, hey, I called up the recruiting station, talked to the sergeant major. And it was like, all right, well, just come in, and so we can meet you and see how it goes. And next thing I know, like, okay, well, we're gonna give you some orders, and you're gonna go to BRC, and you come out here. We're gonna, put you on 2-year order, and then if everything works out, if we're gonna keep you or not, it's up to both parties at that point. Say, yeah, we'll make a decision when we get to that point. So I stayed on. I did my 2 years, and I decided not to continue with the duty because I just felt like it wasn't my thing. It
mm,
wasn't. I didn't have the things in life that I have that I'm willing to give up to continue on with recruiting duty. The thing, my blessing is that while I was on the duty, is that I was single. I did not. I was not married and have no kids, so I had no one to worry about except for myself. Whereas some of my fellow recruiters in the office, they all had kids. They all have families, and it was rougher for them, and I enjoy my time. I really uh, got good stuff out of it.
mm.
I was more efficient in certain ways because the way that you do things on the recruiting duty is all about efficiency. Squeeze out all the juice out from your day, and maximize every minute, every action that you use to gain or to accomplish your goals for the day or for the month.
Gotcha.
So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot.
So how did you? So one of the questions I'll definitely ask is like, I understand that you said that you were on rotation, you were doing deployments as a reservist, and then you decided, hey, this is something that I haven't done yet.
Yeah.
Besides that, was there any other reason why you tried to do it? Was it like you felt like you'd be really good at it, or was it just simply like, you know what, why not just
Um.
try it out?
Okay. Well, at first, like you said, like I think I might be good at it. I might be. I might be a good person to do recruiting because I like talking to people. And I talk a lot, and I'm not afraid to talk to people like total strangers to strike up a conversation. So I was like, okay, well, how hard could this be?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
coming into like not knowing shit, like it is not what you think it is.
yeah.
So that was the
That
main
culture
thing
shock.
that it was a challenge for me. It was that
Yeah,
challenge, when you talk to these kids, it's like, okay, like challenge, number one, benefit tag, like challenge. I just want to challenge myself. Same thing for me. Like I wanted to challenge myself. It was like a hump in your career, like you have to get through to know, like you achieve everything that you set yourself on, like challenge wise.
yeah.
And then I mean the last reason would be like uh is it is being or converting to 12 a thing for me,
Mm,
do I see myself like doing the whole 20 or whatever years on active duty, on recruiting duty, for the rest of the time?
yeah.
um, is that my life? Is that life for me? But
Mm,
like I said, it was midway through, it wasn't for me.
mm.
I wanted
Got
more
you.
things in life than just like
Yeah,
leading recruiters,
yeah.
making mission. It was just more to that, more to life. There's more to life making mission. So I wasn't willing to give up that.
Yeah, no, I definitely understand that, man. Especially now being off the bag and no longer being a recruiter a year later, I definitely or a staff in CIC, I miss it at times, I do, but I had that conversation with my wife the other day. I was thinking about going back to recruiting duty because as an EAD, or once you hit your 4 year mark, you have to wait a
Yeah,
year. You have to have a year in time and gap. And now I'm at that point. I have that year in gap, and I could return to the duty if I wanted to. And I had this captain who was just like, "Listen, Benny," she was like, "If you return to recruiting duty, you're not gonna have time for your family. You're not gonna have time for your podcast. You're gonna have to get rid of the podcast. You're not gonna have time for it." And I
yeah,
was like, "No, I'm gonna make time for it." And she was like, "Bennett." She
yeah,
was like, if you're a staff in COIC and you're making time for a podcast, the conversations that people are gonna have.
yeah,
And I was just like, it's
yeah.
like
It ain't
I was
gonna
like
work out,
I was
man.
like, "You're not wrong, ma'am." And
Yeah,
she
I
was like,
mean,
and then at that point, you're not gonna have the same free range that you want to. You're not gonna be able
no,
to talk about what you want to talk about and how you want to talk about it. And she was like, and the biggest thing was, she was like, "Bennett," she was like, "The growth that you've had on your podcast and what you're doing for Mickrick is more than you're gonna do as an 8412." Like, that was her advice to me. She was like, "Bro, you have people hitting you up. You have this going on. You have this going on." And she was like, "You're making ripples, good and bad." Because some people aren't too happy about it. Um,
yeah,
but that was my thing. Is like I was thinking about going back, but then I was like, lost time. Like you were talking about, you were single, right? So like
yeah,
for me, my son, I had two kids on the duty. I
yeah. That was
missed.
rough, man. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
rough.
like, and so some of the questions that I really want to ask you though are like, so how did you make it through the duty? Like, one of the questions that I kind of ask my
Right.
a couple of people, like, "Hey, I'm having a guest on tonight. What are some things that you need help with?" Right. So one of the guys
Yeah.
that I was talking to, currently what he's going through is that he's currently substandard and he's not doing well, but
Okay.
he wants to be better. And he identified for himself that a lot of the issues that he has is just that building rapport and that exploring piece. He's like, "Bro, I'm not finding good needs and motivators." So what advice do you have for that? Like, what were some tips that maybe you did? Like, how did you really explore? Like, did you have certain questions that you asked normally? Like,
Mm-hmm.
was there certain things that you did to get that out of
Right.
him?
Okay. That's a good question. That's a very good question. Like, so for me, like one of the best advice that I got on the duty, is that what are you doing for the kid? You know, it's not even about you. You like the kid don't care about your daily goals. The kid don't care about uh, how many contracts you got to write. It's all about them. So when you go into that conversation, it's like, hey, I want you to come in for this appointment so I can tell you all these good stuff about the Marine Corps or whatever I done, so I can show you like what you could be. And that's how I think like most new recruiters come on the duty will like think that's how it's gonna work. But the point that the moment in the point of my recruiting time that I transform into that recruiter that's gonna write contract is like when you tell the kids like what I'm gonna do for you, that you always have to open up the conversations like, hey, this is so and so. Hey, I'm trying to help you out so that you can be successful, so you
Yeah.
can make more money, so you can take care of your family. Like nobody cares about you. You
Yeah,
know, it's about them, and
bro.
you're a customer service. A recruiter, yes, but you have to be mindful of that customer service.
Yeah.
Because that guy that's going to sign your contract is your customer. So you
Yeah.
gotta you gotta make sure that you want to make things about them and not just you. So that conversation, uh, make that the center of your conversation when you're talking
Yeah.
to no matter who you're talking to is about you, what I can do for you.
Yeah, bro. That's so. I'm glad you said that, man. And I've been. This is my 54th episode, and I haven't even talked about that. So
Yeah.
it's awesome that you brought that up because a lot of the time, like when you think back to it, right, and you think, and that's the thing that people don't talk about is like, okay, the first year of your duty, sometimes you're substandard. Sometimes it just
Yeah.
takes you some time to figure it out and get into this, you get into this battle rhythm, and
Mm-hmm.
the things to say to this person, or you look at one, you look at somebody like, okay, you know what, this is leading me to believe this, and this is how I'm going to take this interview, and then all these things are happening,
Yeah.
and it's because you've failed
Yeah.
enough times to
Yeah.
understand how to get through it. So
Yeah.
with what you're saying, it's very important that, I now that you're saying that, I'm thinking like, bro, I don't know how many times I told people cool stories about me. And it's like, bro, who cares? Like, no
Yeah.
big,
Who
this
cares
dude
about you?
doesn't care.
Like,
Like, yeah,
what are you
it's
gonna
like,
do for me? Like,
yeah,
you want me
yep,
to listen to you, do what
yeah,
you
like
want, or
why
what are you
do
gonna do for me?
yeah, and especially on a phone call, on a telephone call,
Yeah.
especially, it's like, dude, you're on the phone with me. I don't know who the hell you are. Gets the point. And
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah. Yeah.
thing with,
Exactly.
and that's a huge part of it with phone calls is a lot of people are making astronomical amounts of phone calls, but when they actually get a contact, they're not doing anything with that contact. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, you got a contact. Now I need you to do something with it. Like, I
Yeah.
don't, I can't imagine, I remember I had a recruiter when I was a staff at CIC, like this dude had like 77 contacts, but
Uh huh.
no appointments. And
Right.
he'd be like, yeah, I can't get anything off the phones. And I'm like, no, 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 you can. You
Mm-hmm.
just don't know how because 77 people answered. So it's either there's a definition problem or you just can't make a TC to save your life. So
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 are they
what,
following that? Are they following that? The MC3 MC3 like they're doing exactly what the BRC is teaching them to build rapport, blah
mhm,
blah, and the whole deal, right? I,
yeah,
to me like it rarely is that it's not like it's never cookie cutter.
yeah,
Every person that you talk to, whether it be a grad or whether like grad and a senior, they have different needs, and they have different thoughts
yeah,
and might come from a different background, ethnic background, culture. All those things come into play, and you
yeah,
cannot cookie cut uh, your conversation to
exactly.
everybody, and
Yeah,
that's why it doesn't work. Like it's never
yeah,
gonna work. But instead of like following your script, like I have had scripts too. I have these
yeah,
scripts when I'm on TC. I have this script that I have, and that go to the first question, second, hook and jab. He doesn't bottom this. What this is what you're gonna say, and I still stick with a kind of like a script throughout my time, but I like I said earlier, I make it about them. I don't just ask them questions like, hey, do you have this or what are your plans after high school, or what are your plans uh, um, in the future, but I just tell them like, hey, I'm Jordan. I'm a recruiter. I'm a recruiter in the local area. I just want to see what I can do for you to make you more successful. That if you're already successful, I want to be make you more successful. So like that gets their attention that I have found. It might not be the truth, but that is what works for me.
Yeah.
and you having a sincere conversation with them and not just like a cold
Yeah.
call.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that, like, and I agree with you 100% because, listen, I'm not saying don't listen to MC3 skills. We're not because people get misunderstood. We're
Yeah.
not saying that MC3 doesn't work. But
Yeah.
what we're saying is that you have to have an understanding that do the skill steps, but sometimes they have to get moved around and
Yeah.
in different conversations,
Yeah.
because that's what happens is that when you become a recruiter and you get out of BRC, you're so it's kind of like getting out of boot camp and going to MCT and
Yeah.
then moving forward, as you transition as a Marine. It's the same thing. You leave BRC, you get out there, and
Yeah.
you're like, okay, I have to do MC3. And it's
Yeah.
like, bro, you do, but if you just have a normal conversation with somebody while
Yeah.
incorporating those things, then you realize that, okay, MC3 works, but there's different ways to do it. And there's different, like, because every person's different, like you said. So like for me, it was a huge part was finding out from people what is success to you,
Mm-hmm.
because that was a huge question that I would ask people on the phone or in the table setup or at an event or at like a high school table, like a high school at like a talk,
Yeah.
at a career
Display. Yeah.
talk.
Display.
Yeah. I got a career talk. Someone the other day was like, hey, what are some ways that you engaged your audience? And that's one of the things that I would do is I would walk up to the whiteboard and I would put on their success. And then I would ask everybody in the classroom, hey, what is success to you? And like 9 out of 10, you're going to get the same answers:
Mm-hmm.
money,
Yeah. Number
house,
one.
all this stuff, right?
That's
And
always
then
number one.
my question is, okay, well, my next question is, okay, well, what is your plan to get that? And then everybody raises their hand: college, 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 trade school, trade school, trade school. So then I put those on the board and I'm like, okay, well, everybody has the same plan. Now I'm like, okay, but is that really a plan? Like, if you just say I'm going to college, is that an actual plan that you're going to act out, and or is it going to make you money? And then I start getting everybody engaged in the conversation. But I'm like, okay, but if you get a degree and a job, are you successful? And now everyone's like, oh, wait a minute, I don't know. And now that everybody has the exact same plan, now it's starting to open up more things. Like, okay, well, what matters to you? And now you're like, oh,
Yeah.
crap. And now here I come with what I'm going to do for you is show you how the Marine Corps can make you successful through these steps, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, what are some of the things that you used as engaged statements or ways to engage your audience on either a phone call or area, like through area canvassing or anything like that? Do you remember any of those?
I'm trying to think. Whenever I start a conversation, and this is another like a good advice that I have received from a very good recruiter that I work with, that I learned from, is that the need behind the need, man. Yeah, yeah, the need behind the need, because a lot of recruiters, they they keep frustrating themselves or can't figure out, why they're not getting the answers that they want, is because they bite on the first need. What do seniors need? I need to go to college. Well, why do you want to go? Or why do you need to go to college? Well, to get a job. Well, why do you need to get a job? You know,
Bro, yo,
you know, that's
bro, I
it. It's
used
like
to,
you need to keep
yeah,
digging until you hit that sweet spot
yeah,
where you hit the, hit it in the fields. You need to find that, heartstring. You got to pull on
yeah,
that heartstring.
yeah.
When you hit it, when you hit it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, if you don't, then if you
That's
getting
how
like
you,
generic answers from
yep.
them, you're not there yet.
Yeah,
So
man.
don't go for the
That's
kill.
how, yeah,
Yeah, don't go for the kill too early. Like that, you just wasting your time, you
yeah,
wasting your energy.
yeah. And that's how you get soft sales. That's how you get
Exactly.
non-committals. That's how you get like a yeah, and then the kid never comes back, and that's how you get no
Exactly.
shows on deck. And it's crazy that you say that because like I remember when I was a brand new recruiter, I just gotten out of BRC and I was doing this interview, and the kid told me, I was like, man, I was like, what's your why? And the kid gave me some like generic answer, and then I
Yeah.
was like, I was like, bro, that's not good enough. And
Yeah.
the recruiter was like, how are you, like, in the middle of the interview, the recruiter was like, how are you going to tell me, how are you going to tell him that's not good enough? And I
Yeah.
was like, easy. I was like, because we're the ones that have already been through boot camp. We've already been through serving. We've already been through Afghanistan, Iraq. We've already been out there. We've already been through these hard struggles in life. If your why isn't strong enough, you're going to
Hmm.
quit. And that's the thing, is that when I was doing these interviews in the beginning, I was taking that surface level why.
Right.
But
You were taking the
then,
first knee.
yeah, the
You
first
were biting
nibble.
it. I was like,
But
oh, I got
yeah, I'm
this.
like,
You
yeah, I
know.
got this. Especially in the beginning when you get your
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
couple
You
of
need money for
contracts.
college, man. I got
Yeah.
money for college. You
Yeah,
know
you're
what are you
like, bro,
talking about?
college, I got you.
Yeah.
And
Let's
then
do this.
as you're going on, you're like, all of a sudden it's like when your staff in COIC starts asking you, man, hey, why is that kid coming into the office? And then your answer is always coming in to look into the GI Bill.
Yeah.
Bro, that kid's a no show, or
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
and eventually I started asking
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it'd be like my 11th why, and it's like,
Yeah.
but why? And that's when you figure that out, when you have the dude, or girl, really out there saying like, listen, I need this because you know what, my family said I could never have it, and
Right.
I've never seen it, and this and the third, because like you said, in today's day and age, everybody wants college. Okay, but
Yeah.
what is it going to do for you? How is it going to set you apart? Why do you? And then it's also, like, if we're talking about the education piece, right? Okay, well, do you want education, or does your
Hmm.
family want you to get an education? Like, bro, if
Hmm.
your mother said right now, I don't care if you go to college, would you still go to college?
Hmm. Yeah.
Well, honestly, bro, probably not. Okay, then you don't want to go, and then it's not for you, dog. Like, what are we
Hmm.
talking about? And
Hmm.
that's a huge part of it, is understanding their why, not their family's why.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And uncovering that's a huge part of it, because a lot of times, even like, you got to think about it, like these kids, and even grown ass men and women, they've been groomed into believing this is why. And
Hmm.
then all of a sudden, sometimes the first time you're having this interview is the first time they've ever even been asked, like, hey, what do you want to do and why? And
Hmm.
now they're like, I don't know. I've never thought about that. Like, no
Hmm.
one's ever asked me why.
Yeah.
And now for the first time ever, they're like, oh crap. And they
Yeah.
don't know you. So now they're not really letting you in. So now that's why it's important that you build that rapport, and you actually, you give and take, and you teach them about yourself and stuff like that. So, like, what advice do you have for that? Like, how did you do that? Like, how were
Man.
you, like, in your
Like
interviews?
finding
And
the
yeah, like
the the need
finding the
behind the
need behind,
need, how to
like,
find
how
the
did,
need behind the
yeah,
need. You
yeah,
know what, like, just like any new recruiter, like, you tend to take the first bite. It's like, oh, okay, you wanted to get it over with. It's like, oh, I got his need. I'm gonna sell the shit out of college. I'm gonna sell the shit out of, like, skills, job skills, or travel the world, blah blah blah. And all throughout my time, I thought I got it, but I don't think I did. I ever did. And when a recruiter is really good at finding the need behind the need, those are the recruiters, like your rookie of the year or recruiter of the year, or those, like, heavy hitters, like writes threes, fours, even fives a month. Um, and I have had one in my office. He was a recruiter of the year, and he got really good with finding the need behind the need, is because you need to really gauge their reaction, their body language. Uh, we have a saying in the office, like, if you don't make your appointment cry during the interview, man, you ain't got it. You ain't got it.
bro,
Um, and I've had people like, yeah, yeah, I joined, blah blah blah, did join, and then the next couple of months, like, yeah, I want to go, I want to get out.
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
want to go
yeah,
no more. Those are the ones that are your discharges. If you never really find the need behind the need, you're gonna have a potential discharge, depth
yeah,
discharge. Most likely depth discharge.
yeah,
But
bro, and
really,
that's
like,
why.
to find out, real quick, like, and I still never really found out exactly uh, the need behind the need for all the guys that I put in. that are already out. And it's crazy that you asked this question because one of my kids that got out like a year ago called me out of the blue. He called me. It was like, "Hey, Gunny, blah blah blah. Yeah, I was just thinking about my time in the Marine Corps. Now that I'm out." He called me as I just want to say thank you. You know, and I was like, "Why? Well, why? Why you thank me for it, man? Because you changed my life." Well, how did I change life? I still don't know. I didn't know. Like, I thought I knew his need, but I didn't know. It's like, how did I change your life? Like, what made you join the Marines? Like, when I was talking to you, and it was like, and his answer was like, I was a bitch in high school, and I'm no longer a bitch. That's exactly what he said. I was a little bitch in high school, and if I knew, like he said to me, like if I knew everything I knew right now, I would have been like a Greek god in high school. So he was one of those kids, like he's smart, but he was just nobody noticed him.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So a lot of times, like it all comes down, like you said, like it's about money, and then there's more than that under the money. What's behind it? Why do they need the money to
Mm-hmm.
show people that he's successful?
Mm-hmm.
Is that respect? Is that you're somebody?
Yeah, yeah,
you're not the guy in the corner that nobody cares about, and that's
yeah,
really it. That's everything leads to that I believe. I believe my not be true. Sometimes you get those like, oh, I want to be a Marine like since I was 2 years old. Those
yeah,
guys, you always get that. But for the
yeah.
average
Once in a
guys
while,
that
yeah.
yeah, for the average guys that never had a conversation, nobody in the military, that's really like what I found out. They want that respect. With their family, whether it be friends or just total strangers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think and a lot of it, because like we're talking about, with the discharges and stuff like that, and that was somebody else that one of the questions that was brought up to me earlier, today was someone was like, I'm having a really hard time um, with discharges, and I'll get
Hmm.
the kid will join, and then all of a sudden, boom, and it's like, well, because like for me, like when I was a recruiter, like I had one of my first bosses, he was okay with like, hey, this kid said yes, let's floor him.
Yeah,
And I'm like, and I would be like, but Gunny, like I could look at a kid 9 times out of 10 and be like, that kid's gonna be a discharge.
but he
And
doesn't
I'd be
care.
like,
Yeah,
and exactly. And he's like, bro, but I know, but we need him for phase line or we need him for
yeah.
mission.
We
And
need it
I'm like,
for we
listen,
need him for contract. Yeah.
and exactly. And even with me becoming a staff in COIC, like when people would say yes to either to my Marines or to me, I would be like, but why? And I would sit here and be like, okay, but how do we know? Or I would really attack them. And bro, I even to the point where like I had some kids leave my office and never join the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
And my answer to all of those kids was, well, then you never wanted to be a freaking Marine. Like
Yeah.
if I literally because of me asking you why, and I had a mother, I remember I did one day I was doing an interview, and it was like one of my very first. It was like I was about 2 years into the duty, and it was I was showing the new guy had just checked in, my buddy Morales, and I was showing him how to conduct an interview, and it was an interview at the parents' house, and we were doing it at the dinner table,
Hmm.
and so we're doing this interview, and the kid had already told me that he was extremely interested in doing the Navy SEALs, and this
Hmm.
kid was brilliant. Like this
Hmm.
dude, like this kid, like everybody says that, oh, I'm gonna be a Navy SEAL, but it's like, bro,
Yeah.
like
Exactly. Yeah.
it's like, come on. But then there's those people that you meet and they say it, and you're like, yo, you could do it, right?
Hmm.
So I meet this kid. He's a Marine now, but I meet this kid. He went to a naval high school. Kid was destroyed the ASVAB, 99 on the ASVAB.
Okay.
Physically, the kid was a beast. He was an Eagle Scout when I met him. He was going for his Eagle Scout. So literally
Yeah.
everything,
Golden
like
child, right? He
yeah.
was like golden
And
child.
so I go to and he had already told me that he was gonna meet with the Navy.
Hmm.
So he was supposed to meet with the Navy before our interview. And I knew the Navy recruiter. And the day after the interview, I called him and I said, "Hey, man," I was like, "How did your interview with the Navy go?" And he was like, "Oh, I actually didn't have it." And I was like, "Oh, wow, what happened?" And he was like, "Well, because the guy who I was supposed to interview with had to get rushed to the hospital." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And I found out that that was true. The Navy sailor had gotten like some kind of health poisoning or something, and he had to, whatever. So he rescheduled the appointment, but a week, couple of days go by, and they still haven't reached back to him. The staff and like the commanding officer, nobody from the office reached out to him. No one. So I called them again, and I was like, "Hey, man," I was like, listen, not to knock the Navy, but bro, if one of my Marines got sick, and I would simply call him and say, "Hey, man, I need you to take this interview," and
Mm-hmm.
then another Marine would be here at the house meeting with you and your family.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you know what I mean? And I told that to the mother, and the mother was like, "Yeah, I definitely agree with that." So then I go to the house, whatever. Me and my buddy Morales, we go to the house, do the interview, and I do the benefit tag presentation, and he picks all intangibles. And
Mm-hmm.
I started, we would go through this interview, and he's giving me like these weak ass answers, like these weak ass answers. And I look at him, and I'm like, bro, and right in front of mom and dad, I'm like, bro, that's not enough, man. I was like, why? And I
Mm-hmm.
started getting like agitated. I was like, bro, why? I was like, your mom, this, and the third. And I started getting like really in it, like not in his face, but like you could tell that I was getting like
Just rush,
I
like
was going like
walking
full
in
sergeant on
circles.
him.
Yeah.
Like, and I was just like, and all of a sudden the mom, I asked him, I don't remember what the question was, but I asked him a very deep question, like a real man, like grown ass man type question. And his dad, the whole time, his dad was just sitting there like, and the mom, all of a
Yeah.
sudden, being Mama Bear, mom just looks at me and she goes, "I think you're going a little too hard on him." And I looked over at him. I was like, "Ma'am," I was like, "Your son wants to be a Navy SEAL. Like your son is sitting here talking about he wants to do Special Ops, Marine Corps. He wants to go MARSOC. He wants to do recon. He wants to do Navy SEALs." And I was like, "And ma'am, I understand that he's a very smart-minded person." But ma'am, I'm just asking him why it matters to him to be self-disciplined, and he can't tell me any other reason besides because I lack discipline. And
Mm-hmm.
then immediately as I started asking more and more, this kid started opening up to me. And he started telling me things that he never even told his parents. He
Mm-hmm.
was like, actually, I used to be bullied, da da da. And he started telling me all this stuff in front of his
Yeah.
family.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, and then the mom looked across the table at me, and I was like, see, ma'am, I was like, a lot of the times you because you're his parents, you think you know everything about him, but a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times there's stuff that he's never even told you. And it's because
Yeah.
you either haven't asked or it's because you haven't asked the right way.
Yeah.
And I understand, ma'am, and I apologize if you think that I'm coming at him the wrong way, but I was like, his drill instructors are gonna do the same thing. I was like
Mm-hmm.
his, his mentors and the SEALs are all these different people that are gonna do that same thing. And I was giving him what he wanted. And that's the biggest thing is that these recruiters, the reason why y'all are having these no-shows and you're having all these things is because you're, I'm sorry for the lack of a better term, but you're pussyfooting around. Like
Yeah.
you're not
Exactly.
just being straight with this person. Like, listen, bro, this is because you have this conversation about someone wants to, someone wants to join the Marine Corps and they want to be self-sufficient.
Yeah.
Okay. But in the pool program, you're not even starting there to show them self-sufficiency. You're not even showing them discipline. You're not even, they're saying, hey, I need this, but you're not even giving that to them. So the reason why you have these discharges is because you said, hey, I'm gonna do this for you. And then right after that dude contracted, you forgot all about him and went on to the next one. And listen,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that wasn't me because I did the
Yeah.
same
We all
thing. I've
been there.
had that.
Like we all been
We've
there
all
because
been there.
you don't have the time to take care of your pool really, and then get 3 point appointments a day.
Yeah.
And I think, man, I mean, it's hard to go around that. Like, you only have a certain amount of time each day, and you got to cut it up into, taking care of your pool and contracting, at the same time. And that's where like the staff NCOs comes in like handy. Like if you got a really good staff NCO IC, he needs to help take care of your pool as well. Of course, you're gonna be the one to always connect with your with your guys, but in in the events or the time frame where like you guys are like balls to the walls trying to make mission, and you're hitting the phones, you're out there acing, and all of a sudden your kid needs attention, like that's when your staff and COIC need to come in, and you really have, if you don't have that kind of staff and COIC, you really need to confront, that boss, like, hey, dude, like I need you, right? You want me
Yeah.
to make a mission for you? This is what I need,
Yeah.
So I
Bro,
think
and
it's a success is not only in you, it's the team. Like the
yeah.
thing, like one thing that we started off this podcast with asking the questions like, what made me successful or whatever. I don't think that I'm successful. I survived, but I
Mm,
wasn't the guy that's always writing three, fours, and fives. Getting all these like awards,
yeah.
but I did my part to help my team make my
Mm,
mission. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So, and I stayed with a standard office for the majority of my time. And then the last 3 months, my command like chopped up my area. So I was moved to another like large station, last
Mm.
3 months of my time
Oh, damn.
in a recruiting duty. So it was weird too, right? I went from a like a office that makes a consistent mission to a failing station,
Mm.
and I can totally see why. I can totally see what is happening
Yeah.
when when you're recruiting for your team. You're going to be successful.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
When you're trying to recruit and do your own thing, you're gonna have a failing office. Like
Yeah.
if you have recruit, and you probably like seen this too. Like if
Yeah.
you have recruiters that you work with that don't give a shit
Yeah.
about anything,
Bro.
and not doing his part, and no one is making him accountable,
Yeah.
you're gonna have a failing team. You're not gonna
Yo,
have
100%, bro.
exactly,
And I'm so glad yeah, man. And that's the thing, man, is that like that's the thing that pissed me off about recruiting duty,
Yeah,
right? And that's one of the many reasons why I started this podcast, right?
yeah,
Because the funny thing about it, right, is that the thing I love about the podcast is that you'll never have somebody come on here that was a shitty ass recruiter that had like some garbage APR. Like you'll
yeah,
never, like I mean, like because and then the reason why I say that is because like yourself, right? You're
yeah.
saying, hey, listen, I was never that
I
stellar
was never
dude,
a 2.0. I was
but
never a 3.0.
yeah,
I
but
was a 1.5.
I exactly, but I was doing my job as a Marine. I was part of a team and I was working, right? But you
Yeah,
would never, but that's the thing about it is that like that was what killed me about recruiting duty was that anywhere else in the Marine Corps, it is never okay for you to be substandard. Like
no,
that's a problem. Like if you
yeah,
are substandard anywhere in the Marine Corps, everybody's gonna dog you. If you got a bad PFT, if you don't know your
yeah.
job, all your Marines, your peers, your subordinates, they're all gonna dog you. But all of a sudden, we come on recruiting duty, and we got this guy, say freaking Sergeant Smith, who's miserable and failing and not doing nothing, but nobody's gonna correct him. It's like, oh, that's all right. It's Smith. It's
Mm-hmm.
okay. It's Smith. It's okay. It's Smith. And it's like,
Yeah,
okay, or it's White, or it's this guy, or it's that guy. And the thing is that anywhere else in the Marine Corps, someone would be looking at that dude like, bro, I'm not going home because of you. I have to write more
yeah,
contracts because of you. I have
because
to take
yeah,
I have to write more contracts to take your discharges, bro. But what are you doing? And that's the thing about it is that, like, and I'm glad that you brought it up when it comes to the staff and COIC, because a lot of times people don't just want to say, hey, look, Staff Sergeant Gunny, you're not doing your job as a staff and COIC, bro. Like,
yeah,
you're not running pool PT. You're not
yeah.
doing staff and COIC follow ups. You're
Mm-hmm.
not doing training with these Marines. Like,
Right,
sometimes you got to literally call the staff and COIC out and
right.
just be like,
You
bro,
you
like,
got
you're,
to.
and it sucks because a lot of people are just scared of that. A lot of
Yeah.
people, and I'm like, listen, bro, like, one of my best friends, my first boss, is still one of my best friends to this day. And I talk to him all the time and I bring him up frequently on the podcast because, dude, there would be days where he would just no show. He would ghost. He wouldn't come to work. He wouldn't,
Wow.
nothing. And there came a point where me and my boy, or he would talk to our police and he was causing us to have discharges. And it wasn't because of us, it was because he
Right.
was saying stuff to these police.
Uh-huh.
And we were so eventually, and we noticed it. We started looking around. We were like, hold on, what's going on here? So me and my boy, we realized this. So eventually, me and my boy went into his office and we talked beforehand. We talked. We were like, hey, we were sergeants. He was a gunny. And we were like, bro, like we gotta nip this in the butt. Like we're both junior recruiters. Our senior recruiters had already gone off. So now it was me and him were the most senior people in the office. We're like a year
Right.
on the duty.
Like you're
And
A
me and him,
slash.
yeah, like he was the A slash, but me and him were literally here at the same time. We were both on the duty a year.
Yeah.
And we're both looking at each other and we were like, bro, we gotta go in there and tell them to stop fucking talking to our police.
Yeah.
So I literally walked in the room and I was like, listen, Gunny, I was like, you're talking, you're interrupting our interviews and we're losing kids when you talk to them. Like we have them sold. We have them on the line, they're joining, they're committed, and then you come in
And
and
sell them.
you unsell them or you push them too quick or you tell them they're leaving too quick. And it's like we're losing people because of what you're doing. So then me and him literally looked at him and we were like, listen, Gunny, like we need you to just stop.
Yeah.
We were like, unless we invite you into the conversation, unless we
Yeah.
say, hey, Gunny, can you come in? Then we're losing people. And listen, at the end of the day, Gunny, you want to make mission, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's your mission letter. And me and my boy looked at him and we were like, listen, we promise you we will never miss mission if you just let us do us. Like just stop talking to these kids, stop making moves because he was doing stuff behind our backs. Like
Uh-huh.
but he was moving pulleys without telling us, and then the kids were losing jobs and like all this stuff was going on. And it was like, bro, that's my kid. Like I talk to that kid's parents. That's my contract. My name's on that. So
Yeah.
eventually, me and my boy told him this, and bro, night and day, our discharge, our attrition, everything
Yeah.
changed because we literally were like, listen, like you have, like we can, like you said already, we cannot focus on writing contracts and pool care. Now, mind you, I'm not gonna
It's
say,
not
okay,
possible. It's not
like
possible.
one thing some tips can be like, hey, bring your poolies out with you, bring them area canvassing with you, or when you're going out to these schools, make sure that they're present, make sure you're showing them off, make sure
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
doing these welcome aboard briefs, right? So I'm not going to say it's not possible,
Mm-hmm.
but the staff NCOIC is a pivotal part of keeping the pool program together
That's
because
it.
that recruiter is supposed to be focused on bringing in that new energy and bringing in that new pool, and that staff in COIC really needs to be focusing on pool PT, needs to be focusing on the pool program, you know there's a lot of other things that he needs to be focused on instead of hey, like, because I had sometimes I'll never forget it, man. I had poolies that had no idea who my staff NCOIC was. Like our sergeant
Mm-hmm.
major walked in one day and was like to a random poolie, he was like, and this poolie had been there for 5 months. And the
Mm-hmm.
sergeant major was like, who's the boss of the office? And he looked at me
Mm-hmm.
and he was like, oh, it's Staff Sergeant Bennett. He's like, it's Sergeant Bennett. And the sergeant major was like, I'm sorry. He's like, yeah, he's here every day. He's here in the morning. It's him. He's the boss. And he was like,
Mm-hmm.
so you don't know so and so? And he was like, nah, I never met him. Like straight out, literally
Mm-hmm.
was like, nah, I never met him. Like,
Yeah.
bro,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
or we had, and the same dude would come into the office and he would say hi to a poolee, right? And he would welcome them. He'd be like, oh, hey, it's nice to meet you. Da, da, da. And this poolee would look at them and be like, Gunny, I've been a poolee for 6 months. You brought me to MEPS. And then he would look and laugh, but I know, man, I'm just kidding. And it'd be like, bro, these kids know that you're not just kidding. Like you legitimately just don't know who they are. And then it's very easy. And that's why we have an issue with the discharge rate because we lose people. Sorry to call them kids, but we lose people due to the simple fact that they feel like they were just a number and they never mattered. And I think I lost you. You're frozen. Boom, 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 boom. I think he lost service. But yeah, so I'm gonna have to. Yep, I lost him. Well, it was just getting good. I hope everyone who is watching right now is enjoying this. Hopefully, he's able to hop right back on with us. We're going to be trying to just finish this thought and get off of here at probably 15 minutes.
I kind of
Yep.
lost you. Yeah.
Now
Okay.
you're good.
I'm sorry about that. Yeah, it might be
Now
my
you're good.
connection. I'm not sure about if it was you.
Now you're good,
Has this
bro.
happened before? Like we just got
It
disconnected.
sometimes it happens if your internet goes out or if you get a phone call or something, it'll pop off.
Well,
Um,
yeah, but anyways, like we were, yeah, you were talking about the how important it is for the staff NCO to help you, at least help you.
yeah,
I'm not talking about throw it all to them
yeah,
because you still have to maintain that connection. And you still it's you're the primary person
hmm
to maintain that commitment,
yeah, because
and
you're
you
the one
always
that
got to
made it.
test those commitments. Are they
Yes.
showing up to the
Oh,
pool function? You got to test them. You're like, hey, you like you said, you always got to like at least uh find out like how you can fit them in your plan of the day. And my thing was like, I will always hit all my schools. I was in the area where my schools are, within 10 minutes away from each other, So I would hit every one of my schools, at least two, I had four priority ones. So I always go to my priority ones. I would hit two because the lunch period, I always go to lunch periods, and it's only that 30 minutes, right? Like 30 minutes, that's what you have. You have to say hi to your kids, talk to them, find out how they're doing, and then try to find your appointment at the same time. So it's a little challenge, but you always gotta like, hey, at least say hi to your kid,
yeah,
and then ask your kid to, hey, find me some kid to talk to.
yeah,
That's the thing. Like, make things work for you. You
yeah,
gotta plan your
and
day. You gotta
even
make
just
those things work.
yeah, and even just like when I would do what you're saying, like my boy Arana, he was the guy that I took over for. He showed me this. He would be like, he would call his kids. He had them in a group chat, and he would group chat them, and he'd be like, hey, hey, I'm swinging by Middletown North right now. I know your lunchtime is in 15 minutes. What do you want me to get? And
Yeah,
then
there you go.
he would
Bring
go to
them food.
Chipotle, he would bring in whatever, and he would just literally sit at the end. He had it to where the school was open, to where he would go into the lunchroom, say hi to everybody, say hi to all the security, and then he would sit down at lunch and then just pull out like sandwiches from Jersey's Mike's or wherever, and then he would have lunch with his poolies, and he wouldn't even talk Marine Corps to anybody. And
Hmm.
then all of a sudden, his poolies would be talking to their friends, and people would be now he got to be known around the school. The teachers knew him. The teachers didn't see him as like, oh, he's just a recruiter. They were like, no, he's just a good guy. And
Yeah,
now it became more of a community. He was part of the school. The
yeah,
faculty knew him, and that's what it is also making those kids, those students, those grads, whatever they are, making them feel important too.
yeah,
Because now they're being looked at by other people like, yo, why is this dude bringing them food? Why is he treating them like this? Why is it so different? And that's a huge part of it is,
yeah,
is you have to make time for the pool. You cannot blame it on, oh, there's no time. But 100%, do we have to? And that's, I think, one of the great things about recruiting duty. And I was having this conversation last night, is that recruiting duty really helps you with time management once you're off the duty.
yeah.
Like you
Those are the
really
skills
think,
that you pick up. Yeah,
yeah, like you,
maximize your day. Like those are the
yeah,
things that make you stand out when you're outside of recruiting duty.
hmm
When you're outside of Marine Corps, it's like you go into like a civilian job. It's like, oh my god, like this guy is awesome. Like he's everywhere. He's a great manager. That's the things that positive come out of like recruiting duty. There's a lot of shit that is like suck in recruiting duty, but you also got some good stuff, and that's one of the biggest things that I took away from the duty is the ability to communicate with everybody and anybody.
hmm
That comes in handy later on. and then being able to manage tasks, doing one thing, and then try to maximize. Let's say, for example, like the job that I do, like when I'm doing writing an email or doing a task, I'll throw in a 30-second workout. I would have like weights right next to me. I would just like do some curls or something, like maximize your day. You only have so much time.
Mhm.
So that's definitely one thing that I would say, like, hey, there's gonna be positive stuff.
Yeah. Now, did you have any struggles on the duty? Like in the 2 years, did you find yourself ever like struggling mentally, physically, emotionally?
It
Like, was
was
there?
mental, man. It was
Yeah.
it was like the duty itself is like 90%. I would say 90% like mental, man. I mean, it was like there's so much stress. Like it was first time in my life ever to kind of like wake up with stress, with
Mhm.
anxiety. Like I had this one kid. He was 2 days away from shipping. It was a Friday or some shit like that, or a Thursday night. It's the next day that you have to uh you got to bring him to like the Friday night,
For inspect,
Friday
yeah.
night. Yeah. So it was like he sent me a text like, he made up some excuse, it was like, I can't go. And my boss was like, I don't care what you do, you gotta go and get him to ship.
You better go
You know,
find them.
yeah, you're gonna find him. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, damn. And in the back of your mind, like this kid is done. You know,
Yeah.
at that point, if he's unwilling to go when it's go time, he's done.
Yeah.
There's no way. I have never seen anybody who has been resold the last minute. If you wait for that last minute to resell a guy, he ain't gonna bite. So it was that one time that like I woke up. I don't know if you ever felt this, but it's kind of like a rock in your chest. Your
Oh
chest
yeah.
about to explode. It's
Yep.
like
Yep. Yep.
and you like naturally woke up because of that. You know,
Yeah.
I think my blood pressure was so high when I was sleeping. I wasn't really sleeping, but I was like half asleep, and you just woke up like you know, like somebody punched you in the chest.
Bro, that
And I
was
never
those are
felt that before. That's when I
yeah.
know, like, damn, like this is crazy. Like I'm in a mental state where I've never been before. And that's what the recruiting duty does to
Yeah.
you. Like
Yeah.
it pushes you to your limit and then beyond.
Yeah.
And especially if you have family,
Yeah.
because that's
Bro,
just
I'm
more
yeah.
ways to pull you.
Yeah,
you know.
man. I remember I was talking to my wife about that the other night. Like I was like I'm still a reservist, so once in a while I have my drill once a month. So
Yeah.
now it's become this thing where like 9 times out of 10, like I have to drive into Brooklyn. It's a 2 hour drive from where I live. So normally I got to be there at 05. So I got to leave my house by 03. So normally like tomorrow, like I'm going Saturday. So Friday, I probably won't even sleep. And it's because while I was on recruiting duty, whenever I had a MEPS run, I had this anxiety that I was
Mm-hmm.
going to oversleep and miss the MEPS run. So
Oh
I
yeah.
would wake
Yeah.
up
Yeah.
every like 15, 20 minutes, every hour on the hour. And I would I
Mm-hmm.
would be like, babe, did I miss my alarm? Babe, did I miss my alarm? And she'd be like, you
Yeah.
haven't even fallen asleep yet.
Yeah.
And and then when you get off of that, or like when you have two cell phones and you have this feeling of like, oh, my phone's
Exactly.
ringing, and
Yeah.
then like, and it takes you a good minute to realize like, bro, you only got one cell phone now, like you
Yeah.
don't have two. And
Like you always
yeah,
have to have your cell phone, your personal, and you got your Govy, and you set two alarms. You got
yeah,
to like. th- I never missed the MIPS run. I guess I was never late. I was never like not wake up. I guess that was the one ability that I have to kind of like help me out a lot because I was
bro. So
able
you
to.
want to, yeah, you want to hear a crazy story about a missed MEPS run?
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
So I had bro, this is so I had a van. I had 6 kids in the van. It was me and I had no 5 kids, so you only have to 5. So it's me and I have 5 shippers.
Uh huh.
And I had woken up late, and the bus came every day And it was like, I think like 5:15 was when the bus would pull up at MEPS. So we had
Mm-hmm.
to be at the door by 5, but no later. Like
Then
we always
5.
tried to be there by 5, but like the latest you could be at the door would be 5:15, like the
Uh-huh.
latest. But I always had the rule of thumb be at the door by 5.
Right.
So this one day I'm running really late. I get to the gate, and I look at this dude. I look at the dude at the gate. He's an Air Force dude. And I roll my window down and I was like, "Hey, good morning, man." I was like, "Yo, how do you like being in the Air Force?" And he was just like, "Oh, not bad, not bad." And I was like, "Did you like always want to be in the Air Force?" And I started just joshing with him and just talking to
Yeah.
him.
Just
And
chopping
then
it
I
up.
was like, "But why did you join?" And he goes, "I don't know." And then I looked at the pulley, like the pulley next to me, and I was like, "See, man, they don't know why they did it, but Marines, we know why, right?"
Mm-hmm.
And then the guy's like, "All right, can I have your ID?" And I go to pull out my wallet,
It
and
wasn't there.
I don't have my ID. And he just
Ooh.
looks at me, and I'm like, "Hey, man," I was like, "You think I can get on?" He goes, "Nah, man, I don't know why." And then
Oh damn.
I was like, "Bro, I got like 6 kids. They all ship into boot camp." He goes, "My bad." He goes, "That's not my problem."
Yeah.
So I'm like, "All right, well, what can I do?" And he was like, "Nothing." He was like, "You can call them, get a pass, and then they can bring it out here and then get you on." And he's like, "But that's gonna take probably like an hour because they're not even open yet to give you a pass."
Yeah.
So then I had to call my buddy who was already on base, and he had to come off base to get my kids to drive them on base.
Yeah.
And out, bro. And luckily enough, like my gunny, nobody ever found out about this. Like
Wow.
I got all my kids, and bro, it was just, dude, I had 6 shippers that I almost they almost
Your heart just
missed.
dropped, right?
Bro,
You were panic mode, sweating
I
bullets.
was dying. I was dying, bro.
Yeah,
And like,
sweating bullets.
bro, I had another and then I had like there was another kid where um I got really cocky, and we were it was mission day,
Yeah.
and we had a kid on deck. No, it was the day before mission day. We had a
Okay.
kid on deck, and I get to MEPS, and we had gotten the call that the kid made it, right? That we got the call, kid cleared, and it was in McChrist, kid cleared, Q,
Yeah.
right?
Okay. Cute.
So,
Cute.
yep. So we get and we're all praying, right? So my gunny calls me. He's like, "Hey, we got a Q. Go pick him up." So all right, word. And this is my boy, one of my boys' very first days on recruiting duty. It's like my boy's literal first day, his first MEPS
Mm-hmm.
run. I'm showing him how to do the MEPS run. My boy Durkee. So we get out there, and I walk in the building. We get downstairs to the MEPS liaison's room, and my CEO is down there, and he's like, "Hey, what's going on, Bennett?" I'm like, "Hey, what's going on, sir?" I'm just like, just picking up our mission maker, sir. And then my boy Hibbert, the MEPS liaison, just looks at me
Mm-hmm.
and he goes, "No, you're not." I was like, what do you mean? I was like, "Bro, it just said Q. Y'all called Gunny and told him he was good. Like, what are we talking about?"
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "Bro, as soon as we told y'all he was good, like as soon as Q hit the system,
Mm-hmm.
he was apparently the kid had his this is the story that I was told, and this is what the kid and then the kid told us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So apparently the doctor hit Q on the computer,
Yeah.
and then as the kid was walking out the door, the doctor said, "Hey, have you ever had counseling?" And then the kid turned around and was like, "Yeah, my parents were divorced, and I went to counseling when I was 5."
Mm-hmm.
So then the doctor was like, "Oh, really? I'm gonna need those medical records." So
Wow.
then
Okay. Damn.
they opened them up for that, and then this kid came downstairs, and we didn't know, like so we get the kid in the car, and I start bugging out on him, and I'm like I'm flipping out on this kid, and I'm like,
Wow.
"Bro, we told you if there was anything you needed to tell us. Like we briefed the hell out of you. We asked you all these questions. We told you if you needed to tell us anything, tell us anything." And I'm like, "How do you not tell us that like you had counseling for a
It
divorce? Like we
happens.
didn't even know, you know what I mean? Like, and exactly, it happens, right?
It
And
happens.
where
You never know.
bro, and that's what it is, bro. So we're bugging out, I'm bugging out, and then and then this kid's dad, we get the dad on the phone, and then we had to. This was in Jersey, and then we find out the divorce happened in like Virginia. So then we find out that the law firm that did the
Yeah.
divorce was closed now. So now we had to find some sort of way to get a written statement and all these documents
Crazy
about,
shit.
bro. And it was just like, and that's the thing about it. Like I had an episode back in the day, but somebody was like, bro, but recruiting duty is the only place where you could do everything right and something still happen that's wrong. Like
Yeah,
you could cross every T and dot every I, and somehow something
exactly.
crazy is gonna happen.
Well, let me ask you, like, in that story, yours, like, you screen. Obviously, you screen your kid prior to MEPS. Did your staff NCOIC at that time re-screen him? So right after you screen him, your boss screened him again, right? Pulled
Yeah,
him to his
I would,
office.
I can't remember. I would hope so.
I mean, what was that like the routine for? Yes, for our office, like the recruiter will
Oh
screen the
yeah,
kid.
bro. For our office, and
Yeah,
that was the thing. Yeah, for our office, it was, bro. We had like 7 lines of defense, bro. It was like it would be like it would be another recruiter in the office would screen the kid,
yeah,
get him
yeah.
to
Sometimes we
try to
have
get him
that.
to pop, and
Hmm.
then we would have the A gunner screen the kid, and we would even get to the point where like we would be like, yo, so and so knows what's going on, and then like, yo, he already knows what's wrong with you, but and then the kid would be like, oh shit, he knows, and we'd be like, but you can't say nothing, bro, and then we would get that recruiter to try to figure out, or to
Hmm.
try to get him to like to pop on himself, like,
Yeah,
or to tell us something that he's never told us, you know what I mean?
yeah.
um because of course, like a lot of times that's what it is, man. Like a lot of times it's not, it's not like we're trying to cause fraud or do anything like that, but it's like a lot of times people just forget things happened in their lifetime. Like
Yeah,
people literally
exactly.
are like, all of a sudden it's like, bro, I had no, like sometimes you never know. It's like the craziest shit. Someone's just like, yeah, nothing's wrong with me. And then like I had a kid, it's a perfect example. We all screened him, and he told us all like nothing's wrong with us. And we're like, bro, there's gotta be something wrong with you, bro. There's gotta be something wrong with you. If there is something wrong with you, we'll get you the waiver. We'll go through the DOTI, we'll go through the medical process, we'll figure out what's wrong with you. And this kid's like, no, like there's nothing wrong with me.
Hmm.
Kid makes it through MEPS, pulley for like 6 months. All of a sudden, it's inspect, and this kid is sitting across from the recruit, from the liaison. The liaison's going through paperwork, and the liaison looks at him, not even trying to not even trying to pop this kid. He
Hmm.
just looks at him and he goes, "Hey man, what's that mark on your arm?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, when I was in the 6th grade, I broke my arm."
Hmm.
And then the liaison's just like, "What are you talking about? There's nothing here on the documentation. Like, there's nothing here. You've already made it through MEPS. Like, you didn't tell the doctor that. Like, what are you talking
Hmm.
about?" And
Yeah.
the kid's like, "No, yeah, I told the doctor that." And the liaison's like, "No, there's
No, you
nothing
didn't.
here. Like, what are you talking about?" And the kid was like, "Oh crap, I guess I just forgot." And it's like,
Hmm.
and that's the thing about it, is that like when you're on the duty for so long, it's like you just said, you were like, bro, it happens. But when
Hmm.
you're living in that moment, these things aren't supposed to happen. Like it's not okay that this happened. Like when you have a kid who discharges, or when you have a kid who no shows, in the real world, it's like, oh, it happens. Like my job now, I'm a recruiter for a college. If I have a
Hmm.
no show, my boss is like, it happens. But in the Marine Corps, if you have a no show, it's like, you better go to his house and wait outside for the next 12 hours. It's like, you know what I mean? So like
Hmm.
these things happen, but when you're on the duty, the anxiety, the stress, the pain, it's really real. And you're like, bro, but it can't happen, even though it
Yeah.
happens. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
So, uh, just a comment on the screening process, like the pre-screen, like the night before the MEPS screen. That's where it counts, right? Like
Hmm.
that's when we call lock up your kid, and you always got to tiptoe around that question, or you always got to tiptoe around the line. Where is the line? There's like lines blurred. You always want to, as a recruiter, you don't want to straight up lie or tell your kids like, don't tell them like this, you got this is that. That never happened. Like you don't even go there, don't even question. But the way that I approach that is like I tell them, I look them in the face like, okay, this is your book, right? This is your information. Like this is your, this is gonna end up being your service record. This is you. And if you got something to say, say it right now. If you don't, I'm gonna close this damn book, and then that's it. Nothing new is gonna come up. And you really got. I mean, you're not telling them to lie. But this
Yeah.
is it. Like I'm giving you an opportunity to let me
Yeah.
know what's going on. And a lot of times those kids, like you said, don't remember. And a lot of times those kids just don't want to say it. They know it's bad, so they don't want to say it. But they don't feel the pressure to say it until they're being told, like, I'm going to
Yeah.
fine you, or I'm going to throw you in jail for
Hmm.
2 years.
Or when somebody looking at their asshole and they're all of a sudden they're like,
Exactly.
oh
Yeah, they don't
shit,
get scared.
you
Yeah,
know?
I didn't have
Yeah.
I had a kid that popped right before he had to go to boot camp. You
Yeah.
know, but
Bro,
it's something that he never told me about.
I had a kid. I only had a couple of kids that popped, and I had one kid, man. Oh my god, bro. So this kid literally told me there was nothing wrong, like literally nothing wrong with him. Went
Yeah,
through he was a pulley for like 6, 7 months, like
yeah,
nothing wrong with this dude. Like we ran PFTs with him, we ran ISTs with him, all this stuff.
right.
His dad worked for I think like something like his dad worked for Homeland Security, right? And his dad was a badass. And like the dad was this cool dude. And so the kid goes to boot camp, and I get a call from, at the time, my senior drill instructor was down there. This is 13 years, like 10 years later, but my
Mhm,
drill instructor was down there as the company first sergeant. So
mhm,
I get a call from my company first sergeant, and he's like, "Hey, listen, man." He's like, "Did you put a kid named so and so in the Marine Corps?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, I just sent them down there." And he's just like, "Well, he's saying that you knew that he had asthma attacks and that he has panic
mhm.
attacks,
Yep.
and that, that's why he failed his IST."
What?
And I was like, "Wait." I was like, "First of all, I was like, first sergeant, he passed his IST when he left here, we did it as a pool function, as an all hands pool function. Like we all witnessed this dude pass his IST. He's never had an issue with breathing or an inhaler to my knowledge." So I called this dude's parents, and I was like, "Hey sir," I was like, "just so you know, your son's coming home." And his dad flips out. His dad's like, "What do you mean? Why is he coming home?" And I was like, "Well, apparently he's telling boot camp that that he had asthma related issues and an inhaler his whole life, and that I knew about it and told him
Mhm,
to lie about it."
mhm,
And his dad's like, "First of all, no, you didn't, because I don't even know about it, and I'm his father."
mhm.
So he was like, he's like, "Give me the phone number to whoever I had to call, because I'm gonna call them and let them know that I'm his father and I didn't even know that. So that motherfucker's lying."
Mhm.
And literally, and this dude's father flipped out on him. Like when the kid came home, and never became a Marine. And
They still
dude, his
discharged them.
dad, his
Wow.
mom, yeah, because because the thing was is that he lied about so he kept saying that he had this medical issue that he didn't clearly have, because they even did the pulmonary
Mhm.
function test, they did everything. And they ended up discharging him because he just wouldn't they discharged him failure to adapt, because he wouldn't run. He just got scared, I guess, from the drill instructors or whatever it was, and
You
he just
probably
like he just
refused to train. Yeah.
yeah. So, and it
So.
was just like, but that was the thing about it, man. That was so, and again, these are just things that nobody talks about on the duty. Like and even just thinking back to these things, you're just like, bro, like no matter what you do or no matter how hard you try to
It's
do right,
always gonna
it's like
sum up. Yeah,
there's
something comes
something,
up.
yeah, yeah,
You can't control everything. Yeah, there's. It's like another saying that we have while I was on duty is like recruiting duty is like you juggling balls. You juggling.
yeah,
Have you heard that? Like you
yeah,
juggling
yeah,
rubber
yeah, yeah.
balls and glass
Glass balls and
balls.
rubber balls. Yep.
Exactly right. So you have to take care of your glass balls first and foremost, and that's your mission. That's your whatever you have to do to make that mission. And there's things that gonna fall. You just gotta be able to accept that. But that's what your fellow recruiters are there for, and that's what the bosses are for. to kind of like watch your back,
Yeah.
to kind of like, that's why you need to have a good relationship with your recruiters, man. Obviously, like, don't have a toxic relationship with any of them, anybody in the office, because a toxic office is a disease, but don't be a pussy and not confront your fellow recruiters that are not doing they're pulling their weight, not doing their
Bro.
job. Don't be afraid to confront your boss if he's not doing the job, because not all bosses are the same.
Bro,
Some
and that's
are
the
11s, some are
yeah.
12s.
And
Yeah.
that's the thing about it, man. And that's what I tried to, I recently had I don't want to say an altercation, but I had something like that come up with a boss, because I had Marines that were reaching out to me and they were telling me like, bro, my boss isn't at work, my boss isn't this, my boss isn't this, and I had a conversation about it with a couple of people. And I'll be real, the conversation came up and they were like, why do you care? They were like, why do you care? It's not your boss. I'm not even on the duty no more. And I looked at him and I was like, because, and I'm talking to an 8412. I was like, you know why I care? I was like, because if nobody corrects this deficiency now, that this staff in COIC doesn't show up to work, doesn't do his job, doesn't do his 7 duties and responsibilities, then that Marine's going to become an 8412. And then he's going to continue to be a horrible staff in COIC. And then eventually he'll be a horrible ARI. And then eventually he'll be a horrible RI. And because nobody just stopped it from when it was started happening, they allowed him to snowball and become this really bad 8412.
Or he's gonna quit, man. He's gonna literally drop his bag.
But and that's the thing though, is that if that person's making it and they're allowing and he's making it off of that team, and no one's confronting him like, hey, Staff Sergeant, hey, Gunny, you're not doing your job, then that Marine's going to get all these accolades, these highlights, and then get promoted, and then eventually it's going to be somebody else's problem because you didn't say something from the jump. And that's what always pissed me off was like, listen, and I'm not saying I'm perfect, but that's my point, is that we need to hold each other accountable, like you said, as an office, as Marines,
exactly,
as everybody.
Yeah. So like, I think it all comes down to like, I would say my office, at least my standard, office. We were a successful office. We were we won, standard standard of the year. So obviously, we're not that, office. And one of the things that really worked out for us was that we keep each other accountable. Every morning meeting, when we bring out our board, like who you got working, what's it looking like, are we going to make mission? We always keep everybody like accountable. It's like, you know what? You've been fucking up. You're not bringing anybody here. You're not bringing people in. You're not doing your appointments. That's why you're not getting your contracts out from you. And it's because you got to make him feel the pressure. Not because you want to belittle him, but you're fucking that over like everybody here.
And that's 100%, bro. And that's the thing is that, and I think, and this is what I've said before, is that's a huge part that's lacking, at least I think now in the Marine Corps, especially, not even just on recruiting duty, it's just those tough love conversations. It's like, bro, like when I was on the duty, when I was a brand new recruiter, if I didn't have an appointment, my A gunner would look at me and be like, hey, what are you doing? My A gunner would look at, like, my staff in COIC didn't have to get in my ass, because my A gunner would be like, hey, bro, you didn't make your numbers yesterday. You haven't had an interview in 2 to 3 days. You haven't gotten an NWA in this many days. Like, I was answering to my A gunner, not even to my boss, because if I was answering to my boss, it was going to even be a worse day. But my A gunner was in my ass like, hey, motherfucker, what are you doing? Like, where are you at? Where you're, and then that was the thing too, is that like I wasn't answering to my staff in COIC. My A gunner was calling me throughout the day Like, hey, where are your time hacks? Hey, what are you doing? Because we were as a team holding each other accountable.
Yeah.
And it was a competition between all of us. And
Mhm.
like you're saying, like when you have those morning meetings, when you're talking about that, like bro, we used to roast each other, like me and my boy Morales. It was a competition between us.
That's the difference between my successful office and my failing office. You know, and I noticed that right away, man. Like they were not the failing office does not keep each other accountable. You know what I'm saying? Because
Mm-hmm.
you're always gonna have that one guy that don't want to be there.
Yeah.
No matter what office you're at, no matter where you're at, there's that one or two, or even maybe more in your office that don't want to fucking be there and just going through the motion and just lying about his day, lying about whatever.
Yep.
Like, oh, have you been to your schools? You know, yeah, I go there every day. You know, and then you go to this fucking school
He don't know
and they don't even
nobody.
know
They
who
don't
he
know who
is.
he is. Yep.
Exactly. So, you know, like, so that's why he's doing what he's doing because you're not keeping him accountable. You don't have to be a boss to be that person to have that grown up talk. You don't have to
Mm-hmm.
be the A gunner. You are a team. You're part of the team. You know,
You're a
you have the
Marine.
right. You have the right to like demand. Like if I'm doing, you know, if I'm bringing food to the table and you're coming in and all you're doing is eating and not even cleaning up, what the fuck, you know?
Yeah.
And you can talk to like from us, like recruiting duty is one of those duties probably in the whole Marine Corps where rank
Mm-hmm.
uh does not hold as much weight. Because I can tell you, like, if you're a gunny and I'm a sergeant like you, and you're fucking my game up, I'm going to confront you. You
Yeah.
know, I don't care what rank you are. Like, you're making me not making mission. You're
Mm-hmm.
making me fail. And it's like recruiting duty is not about rank. It's not about, you know, this or that. It's about
It's individual
that
duty, bro.
common goal, making mission, you
Yeah.
know?
And
And
I
I have
think at
seen like offices where, you know, recruiters were so good, like they were making their office's mission. It was that golden, you know, that golden child recruiter with a 5.0, you know. He would be like, you know, he would talk back to his boss, which is like one or two ranks above him, you know,
mm-hmm.
and the boss would just allow him to do it because he was just, you know, so great at bringing the numbers. You know, that's crazy. You know, you never see that like anywhere else in the Marine Corps, not in the drill field, not in anywhere. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so success and mission accomplished kind of trumps everything. You know, and the new recruiter that's having problem right now or frustrated, you're blaming, you know, you're thinking all in inside the box.
Yeah.
You're keeping things inside. It's like, what am I doing, blah blah blah. Well, what are you doing outside the box? You got to think outside the box. What's going on outside of my circle that's
Mm-hmm.
causing, you know, because it's not all about you, you know, it's everything around you as well.
Yeah.
So number one, you got to keep everybody accountable, and you gotta have that courage to like talk to people, have that conversation.
Yeah.
It's difficult that you go out every day to say hi and have a life conversation with totally someone you never met before, you know. So don't feel afraid to talk to people of your true feelings, you know.
Yeah.
When you confront that, like you said, like when you nip that in the butt, nip
Yeah.
problems in the butt, is gonna have a better time later on if you keep that going. Because like my failing office, they never had these conversations. They never have a beat up session. You know, if you're
Yeah.
that one failing recruiter, the whole office is gonna, you know, beat you up mentally, not even like beat you up physically. You know,
Yeah.
we're beating you up mentally, like, hey, what the fuck, you know, like, you a piece of shit, you, because you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing
Yeah.
for the team.
Yeah.
And that's what made me successful. Is like when I go to work every day, I think about my actions will affect the guy to the left and to the right, and more than likely these guys have a family that they need to get back to.
Yeah.
So if you're not doing your job, you're fucking them over.
Yeah.
So you have to be selfless.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. Like, you know, and I want to make sure we understand this because, you know, people are gonna listen to this. Like, we're not talking about demeaning anybody. We're not talking about anything
No.
like that. But like when we're saying like, we use that term, like, hey, bro, you're being a piece of shit. Like, listen, what we're talking about is that guy, like clearly if this person is going through some issues, right? We're gonna have those coaching, counseling conversations. We're gonna have those reality conversations, like, hey, bro, is everything okay? But there comes a point in a man's life where you're like,
Yeah.
bro, I can tell that this is you just not wanting to work. This isn't
Yeah.
anything else more than that. This is you literally just riding off the coattails of everybody else. Like, now, mind you, I'm not saying that if you are having an issue, if you have an issue with mental illness, or if you're having an issue with depression, suicide, or any of those things, we're not saying do not get the help or do not come to us. We're not saying that. But you do need to have these hard conversations with people, because
You do.
sometimes if you're not going to correct a deficiency especially as an office, like, and that's the thing too, is that you also got to make sure you're coming from a place of love. You got to make, and another thing, if you're going to come to somebody and correct them, have another Marine with you. Hey man, listen, so no one can be like, oh, he said this, he said that. Like, no, actually, I was there with Jordan when he said that, and that's not what he said. So you want to make sure that you're not attacking the person. You want to come from a place of love, but at the
Yeah,
same time,
definitely.
like, we got
Like,
to remind them, like, hey man, like you said, man, like, hey bro, this dude got a family, and he's not going home to his family because you're not writing your numbers. Now, mind you,
yeah,
though, everybody always loves to place blame on the single guy, but
yeah,
sometimes there's just married men who don't want to go home to their spouses too, and they suck. They suck just as bad. You
yeah,
know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah.
And that,
Your
and at the
number
end of the
speaks like the truth. The numbers don't lie.
bro,
If you're not writing contracts, no matter where you're at, I mean, people say like the 12s will say like, oh, everywhere you go is the same, but it's not. But uh, as worse as it can be, you're going to write one a month
bro, that's what I'm
if you do
saying,
your
bro.
job, bro.
Bro, and that's what I'm saying, bro. And like, that's why when I get into that argument, we'll kind of just end on that. But like, that's one of the things that always bothered the hell out of me is like, bro, I'm not asking you to be a 4.0 recruiter, bro.
No,
If you
just do your
just
job.
if you literally just do MC3 skills and you just do your job, you will write 1 to 2 a month. It is you if you do your work honestly,
Exactly.
you will not be a substandard recruiter. If you're
Yeah.
and now mind you, unless today's world, there's a lot of different things going on. COVID, all these different new policies that are in place, right? But the reality of it is, man, if you have enough volume and you do enough work, you're
Mm-hmm.
going to make mission as a team.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing about it, is
Yeah.
stop making
Everybody got to put their
excuses.
like effort in, because even if you write your 1 or 2 a month, but you're still missing mission, because not everybody's bringing all their bones to the table. You'll notice that. But if you're doing everything you could and you're honest about your work, and you ask for help if you need it, like the guy that you talked about earlier, like he's frustrated because he can't figure out what's going on. He's a new recruiter. Definitely, like, it's gonna happen for the first year. Very rarely do you get a guy like
Yeah,
jump off the
yeah,
freaking plane rolling and gunning.
yeah, man.
Rolling
I
bones. You
think,
can't. You can't
yeah,
do that.
I think it takes probably about a good 3 to 6 months, maybe even 9 months sometimes, for you to really figure out
6 months
the
is, I
whole
think, it would
entire.
be the
Yeah, yeah,
magic, the sweet
yeah,
spot. Probably like 6 months.
yeah.
When you're getting certified, right? Like your
Hmm.
6 month certification or 3 month eval or 6 month eval.
Yeah, the 369.
But anyways, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I just wanted to like close,
yeah,
off our podcast, like with, I know that the recruiters out there, it's a lot different when we're pre-COVID. I don't know what's going on in the street right now, and it's gonna be tough whether there's COVID or not.
yeah.
But if you recruit for other people, not just for yourself, not just like, oh, I'm a 3.0, I'm a 4.0 guy, recruiter a year, recruiter a year. If you recruit for your office, you're going to be successful.
Amen.
And if your office is not recruiting for you, you need to, like, voice, like you said, express yourself. Uh, and if you're like doing everything, like if your job as a recruiter uh, is to help other people, like I said in the beginning, Like if you make the whole recruiting process, the whole Marine Corps experience, the all 4 year contract about them, you're going to be successful, you know, and it's going to suck no matter how you look at it, no matter where you're successful. The most successful recruiters are the most, I would say, damaged recruiters out there. You know, the rookie recruiter of the year in my office, he came out of the duty, you know, as a single man, you know, lost his marriage, and you know he's got some, like, you know, mental health problems. But you know, he had to do what he had to do,
Yeah.
and he was strong enough to kind of like push through. Um, and that's the success. You know, you don't have to be the best recruiter in the nation to be a successful recruiter. As long as you do your job, you know, like, as long as your office was uh, successful, you're successful. You're part of it,
Amen.
you know.
Yeah.
So definitely, like, be a sponge though. Like, be a sponge. Just learn. You know. That's all I gotta say, man. Just
Bro,
push
I
through.
couldn't have, I couldn't have ended it better myself, man. Be a sponge, push through, don't quit, fight
Yeah.
for the Marine to the left and the right.
Yeah,
You know,
you are
make
a
that
team,
office.
dude.
Yeah,
You're a fire team.
yeah.
Yeah.
Amen.
So
All
gotta do
right,
that, man. I appreciate
all
you.
right, brother. Hey, thanks for coming on,
Hey,
brother. I
thanks
really
for making the
appreciate it.
time. You know, it was great. It was great talk, and you know, we'll talk again.
Yeah,
We'll
definitely.
keep.
All
All
right,
right, man.
thanks a lot, brother. Have a
Peace
good night.
out. Good luck.